Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Flavor of the Week, brought to you by Banditos, fresh, made daily. In Flavor of the Week, Kyle sits down with one of our local priests over 4 different episodes to sample variations of a favorite food or drink while they discuss the ins and outs of life as a priest.
This is Kyle Hyman. Welcome to Flavor of the Week, Part 1 with Msgr Bob Schulte. Thank you for joining us for this.
Good to be here, Kyle. Yeah, good to be with you.
When we talked about flavors, you gave us a couple options. One of them was ice cream.
Right.
And so do you have a favorite flavor of ice cream?
I do, kind of Rocky Road, something like that is pretty good. When I was a kid, we went and we got some ice cream sometime and it had nuts in it. And I said to my mom, I was about 4 years old, 5 years old. I says, "This has rocks in it. I don't like this ice cream. It has rocks in it." And they said, these aren't rocks.
It's supposed to melt in your mouth. This is what I had to choose.
So I've liked ice cream ever since I was a kid.
Well, this one was, let me pull it up here again. It's caramel truffle. At first I was thinking we should go with like the standards, like a chocolate, a vanilla, and then maybe something interesting. And I say, I can't just get chocolate and vanilla. If we're trying ice cream, we got to do something interesting. So this one here is the sea salt caramel truffle.
Yeah, that sounds very impressive.
Okay. Does that sound like something you might be into? It's got chocolate chunks in it.
Yeah, it does. It does. Looks very good. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like caramel. Almost good.
The sea salt caramel is a funny thing. You don't think of wanting salt in your ice cream, but it works. It's good.
Yeah, it is very good. It's very, very good.
So, Msgr,
never had this before.
Tell us about growing up. What was your family like? Grew up Catholic?
Yeah, I grew up here in Fort Wayne. Belonged to St. Peter's Church, St. Peter's Parish, which my father had gone to school there and church there all his life too.
Beautiful church.
Yes. My grandmother on my dad's side was Catholic, and so that was the Meyer was her name. And so that was very Catholic, and she had grown up at St. Mary's, so it was a German background, and St. Peter's was kind of a German parish on the other side of the tracks from St. Mary's when they built it back in those days. So when I went there, just because that was where our family always went. And we lived, actually geographically, we lived like 5 blocks from St. Hyacinth's, which was a church. And we didn't go there because that was the Polish parish.
Oh, sure.
We were German, even though nobody spoke German in our family or anything, but we went there. So it was about 1.5 miles from where I lived. So, but it was, but I really enjoyed the school there. It was when I started, it was a really big school. Had 2 classrooms of each grade level. But as I went through there, people were starting to move out. It was post-World War II. People were moving out into the suburbs. Places around St. Charles, St. Vincent's were starting to grow, especially around St. Charles. And so our parish was going down. By the time I finished, if I was in 8th grade, there was just 1 classroom of each grade level.
Sure.
And but there was a big our 8th grade class was like 46 kids, so it was a big classroom
in one room.
Yeah, one room. Yeah. And I marvel at the sisters. Sister Chrysaliga was the teacher that we had. She was also principal of the school. She was also superior of the convent, which had like about 8 or so sisters in it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was just amazing that she was able to juggle all that stuff and still teach us and and have such a big class.
Yeah, probably wouldn't have been able to do that if she also had children that she was taking care of and stuff like that. But the fact that she had given herself completely over to the religious life, she was just all in.
Yeah, and she was very talented. I remember there'd be times when parents would come to see her, or a salesman or something, would come to see her, and she would just leave one of the girls in charge. Okay, take down names of anybody that just misbehaves, and we were left on our own. And they took off, and she'd be gone for 20 minutes, half an hour, and we did it on our own.
Were you doing sports, or was there a particular class that you enjoyed?
I never really got too much touch into sports. I did start music lessons when I was in 5th grade. I started playing violin. I started doing that. I played violin all through grade school, and then I really haven't picked up a violin since 8th grade.
Really?
I also got very involved in Boy Scouts. I was in Cub Scouts, and I got really involved in Boy Scouts. And so that was kind of one of the things that I really dedicated a lot of time to was Boy Scouts when I was growing up. And I was, about the time I joined the Boy Scout troop, the Scoutmaster retired and we got a new one. And his kid was about my age and just starting out. And we were tenderfeet together. And so we just kind of went through the whole thing. And I ended up being very young, being a patrol leader. And then I was senior patrol leader. And it was kind of like, so I had a lot of leadership in there. So I think Boy Scouts really helped me to learn a lot of leadership skills and everything, and as well as the camping and other just the skills that you learn working on merit badges and things like that, you know. So I was able to actually work to the Eagle rank in the Boy Scouts, and so I really enjoyed that, and it was just a real great experience for me.
Did you have a project, an Eagle project?
No, you know, when I did it back then, they didn't have, I did it before they had Eagle projects.
Okay.
You had to have 21 merit badges and go through the Court of Honor or Board Review, Court of Honor. Yeah, but we didn't have any project back in those days. I've helped, as a priest, I've helped a lot of young men do their projects.
Yeah.
You know? and some of them have really benefited the church and things like that.
Sure,
so,
sure.
Yeah, it's been good.
So in high school, are you thinking about priesthood, or was there,
Oh, yeah.
if they said, what are you going to be when you grow up? What was on your mind?
Yeah. I would say I often thought about it when I was a kid even. You know, I would think about being priesthood. I was a mass server, you know, for all through grade school and high school. I was very much into the church and prayer and everything, and that was a really important part of it. So I thought about being a priest, and I even trying to act like a priest sometimes, you know, things like that.
Like at home, or?
Yeah, at home, yeah. I had a little altar, you know, like I say mass, you know, when I was a little kid. Yeah, when I got to 8th grade, they still had high school seminaries back then. So I told my priest one day that when I was serving mass that I thinking about, you know, the possibility of going to the high school seminary. And so he put me in touch with that and sent an application out and went through an interview. And I ended up spending 4 years up at Lake Wawasee in the high school seminary. Yeah, so that was a good experience. In fact, there's still about 5 or 6 or 8 of us that email each other back and forth. My classmates from there were scattered all over the United States.
Really?
Yeah, we still keep in contact.
Do you meet up much?
No, we don't. We did have a 25th reunion and another reunion after that, but and then we just haven't really gotten together any since then.
Yeah,
it's been just because they are so far flung away, you know, and stuff like that. So, but we still keep in contact and kind of joke around with each other and stuff.
So what was that like? I kind of can imagine two different extremes of it, just being very rigid and everybody, you know, being really buttoned up and following the rules. But I can also imagine it just being a bunch of high school guys that are, you know, goofing around and roughhousing and teasing each other and playing practical jokes, and it just being kind of a miniature college experience.
A little bit of both of those.
Okay.
Very much so. Yeah. Yeah. And because, you know, it was a boarding high school. So, you know, we were really close to each other, get really close to each other and kind of dependent on each other, you know, and spent a lot of time with each other. And so you just got to do a lot of things and become close to those guys. We're growing together too. We're growing, you know, through that formative time of high school and together. So it was kind of neat. One of the guys was asking me, this is like 6 months ago, he said, how much time do we spend in chapel anyway every day? It was just kind of, so I went back. I had kept a schedule or the catalog from the high school seminary.
Really?
So I went and looked at it. I looked and it had a daily schedule in there. And it turned out there was 4 times a day when we were in chapel. We were like for morning prayer and mass and then noonday and evening prayer. I don't know. There were like 4 different times of the day when we were in church. So it was kind of interesting. He says, so then that means, you know, I really don't have to go to Sunday mass for how many years? I said, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You know, it's like, okay, you know, if you go and binge on this food, it doesn't mean you don't have to eat now for 2 months or 3 months or whatever, you know. It's kind of like, you know, you need it. So anyway, but it was kind of that was a kind of an interesting experience to reflect back on that at different times that we did spend time in prayer. But I also had a lot of fun. I mean, there were sports. We played different sports. We had intramural teams, intramural basketball, baseball. We played. Soccer was not real big back then, but we had tennis courts there and things like that. So we got out and did a lot of that. I did a lot of things working in the maintenance, and we had specific jobs we had to do. Like we had classes like full day on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We got Wednesday afternoon off, but we went to class on Saturday morning. So we had Wednesday afternoon and Saturday afternoons off. And so those afternoons, I would go around and help, in different projects and things like that, cutting down trees or, helping.
For like just people in the neighborhood or for the school?
No, for the school, the school property. At Wabasee there was also a summer camp facility there. There were barracks there that they used for summer camp. There were buildings, there were cinder block buildings that they used for summer camp. They had summer camp up there for I think 8 weeks in the summer, girls and boys. So we maintained those buildings too and helped do stuff like that.
How often would you see your parents when you're at a boarding school like that?
Well, I was a freshman. My sister got married in mid-October. So I went off to the seminary early September, and I did get off that weekend in October. And then I went home for that wedding. And then there was Thanksgiving vacation and Christmas.
Okay.
But most years, you went to school in September, and you got off Thanksgiving for a long weekend and Christmas for a couple of weeks, and then there's around Easter time, and that was it, pretty much. Later on, they started having a weekend here and there where you'd get off, a longer weekend, maybe in February or something like that. But I think it didn't start when we were freshmen. It was kind of.
Did people come visit you?
We did have a laundry pool where, so there were like parents. It was kind of interesting. We had parents that there would like be a pool of like 8 or 9 parents, and they would take turns. Like one weekend, they would bring all the laundry cases up and bring us the clean laundry, and then take our dirty laundry back home, and they would deliver it to each of the houses here in Fort Wayne.
Wow.
So like once every 8 or 9 weeks, your parents would be there, for like 20 minutes, you'd see them kind of on a Sunday afternoon or something like that, As a freshman, there were people certainly that got homesick, and, it's tough.
How about
14,
for you?
14 years old. I didn't really experience it too much.
Okay.
I'd been away a lot on camping trips and stuff like that, and it wasn't really. I don't really remember I remember a couple times getting down, but I was never really, really that. I know my Father Bill Coomer and I are classmates.
Right.
We went through together, and we went to grade school together at St. Peter's too. So Sunday night after Thanksgiving, when we were going back to the seminary, or Monday morning, she would get on the phone with Jermaine, his mother, and they would lament the fact that their kids were gone again, and and all this stuff. I think it was harder on our mothers than it was maybe on us.
Sure. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. What would you give as a rating for this salted caramel truffle ice cream?
I'd say it's pretty much of a 10.
Wow,
that's good. I really
right
like
off the
it.
bat.
I like it. Yeah, it's really good.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Had this ice cream before.
We can only go downhill from here. That's not. All right. Well, I'm excited that I was able to pick a 10. I feel pretty good about myself.
Good. That's good. Number 1 too.
All right. Well, coming up on future Flavor of the Weeks, we'll have more ice cream and more conversation with Monsignor right here on Flavor of the Week.